So the British Broadcasting Corporation asked several questions. Among them is this one: why does life exist? Well, there are different types of life. There's biological life, there's botanical type of life, there's the fauna, the flora, and so on. And you have human, you have animals, and so on. Well, life supports various types, or the other types of life support the human life. Now, man was created because Satan and his angels had rebelled in heaven. They were cast out, and God sought to replace them. So he created Adam, about 18 feet tall, and later on he made Eve out of Adam's rib, so that they were supposed to grow up. They were created a little lower than the angels, and they were supposed to grow up, and not only grow up, but they were supposed to live the storedful life, a life of stewardship, because everything was bestowed to them, and they were the managers. The life they had, nature, and the whole works. And God made it clear. He said, don't eat of this fruit here. Now, it's not that the fruit is poison, but he's just testing them. He gave them all the trees to use for food, but he said, don't eat this one here. He gave them 7 days, and he said, rest on the Sabbath. And so forth. So it was a test of stewardship. Some people say it's sex and all that, but it was a stewardship test. The tree hadn't, because he said all trees were, everything was good to be eaten and so forth. So that, just because God said, don't eat this fruit, I'm reserving it to myself. The act of eating it showed rebellion and disobedience and so on. And so they succumbed to the influence of Satan, the one who they were supposed to replace. Now, the other worlds, there are other inhabited worlds, and it's a long story, but Satan had, or Lucifer, because he was the choir master, he was made special and so on, he was controlling the music in heaven. And he started the thing in terms of being so important, and even more important than his creator, Christ. And he started to sow rebellion against amongst the other angels, telling that some angels think that he's supposed to take the place of Christ because Christ is so laid back and does nothing. And he's so busy, does this great creative work and so on, he should get that position. Now, the creature wanted to create this position because it's Christ who created these angels. And he went to the other worlds and he told them that same argument. So, more than a third of the angels were cast out in that initial rebellion. They cried and they went back, and just continued the thing until finally a third of them were casted out, and they were supposed to be replaced by man. Now, the other worlds had already been in existence, so they weren't created, as it were, to replace these fallen angels. And since Eve and Adam sinned, and forfeited that opportunity to move from this level of being beneath the angels to angels, God had to go ahead and create another world. And we don't know much about the other world, but his plan had to be accomplished, and therefore he had to do it. And I'm sure that that other world, seeing Adam and Eve's mistake, they vowed and they stayed close to God and they survived. They succeeded. You see, Satan had worked in the other worlds, trying to corrupt them in the past. And he discovered that they were sticking together, the husband and wife. So he was able to separate Adam and Eve. Because, see, when a woman and a man are together, they have 100% perception and understanding, etc. When they're separated, they only have 50% or even less than that. So he went to Eve and he threw a question which was beyond her understanding, beyond her experience, etc. Now, if Adam and Eve were there, they would have, collaborated together and they would have avoided that mistake. So that's what he did. And so man was created for that purpose. He was about 18 feet tall, and he was supposed to live forever. This body would have changed and become immortal had they passed the test. And the other animals, the birds and the fish and the snakes and the other animals were created to fulfill man's life, to give man something to do, tend to the birds, tend to this, tend to that, farming, etc. So, in this little discourse, I tried to explain why this life exists. And I'm interpreting life to mean human life, fish, bird, snakes, tigers, etc. And that's the whole purpose. Man was created to replace the angels, and had he succeeded, the population would have stopped growing because the number of a third of the angels would have been reached. Man would have shifted from human to angel, and they would have gone about fulfilling the work. And you see, this is why he became so fierce and fought so vehemently, and this is why he's also continuing to attack us, because we threatened him significantly. We were to replace him. And not very well. He was the music expert in heaven and in the universe. He wrote the very first song. He composed the first music. He did everything musical originally. And so, since he has rebelled and still continues to rebel, he's using music to accomplish much of his rebellion and much of his destruction of the human. So that's a video for another. That's a topic for another video. But yes, life supports human life, and human life was supposed to matriculate into angelic life to replace Lucifer and his fallen angels.